It's 2 a.m. You're lying in the dark, replaying a conversation from this afternoon. Not the whole thing, just the one part where you said something that might have come out wrong. You replay it, you analyze it, you build a better version of what you should have said. Then you replay the original again. You know this isn't helping. You know you should be asleep. Yet you can't get your mind to put it down. It doesn't feel like being stuck. It feels like trying to get unstuck. Like if you go around one more time, you might just sort it out. But you won't. And understanding why is the difference between spending 10 minutes on something and spending 3 hours. Your brain has two very different things it can do with a painful thought, and from the inside, they can feel almost identical. One is reflection. You actually move through the problem. The other is rumination. You circle it. Same effort, completely different result. Picture your mind as a desk with an open case file. Reflection reads the file, learns something, and reaches a verdict. Then it stamps the file and sets it down. Rumination opens the same file, rereads the same pages, repins the same photos, restrings the same lines, and finds nothing new. Then it does it again. It isn't the repeating that's the problem, it's repeating with no movement, going over something 100 times while landing in the exact same place. So, how do you tell them apart while you're in it? There's a simple test. Reflection produces something: new information, a clearer view, a decision, a next step, or the honest conclusion that nothing more can be done right now. It also changes shape as it goes, and then it ends. Real thinking arrives somewhere and stops. Rumination produces the same questions, the same evidence, more emotional intensity, and somehow less certainty than when you started. And it doesn't end, it just gets interrupted. So here's the test. After about 10 minutes, ask yourself one thing: do I understand something new, or do I know what I'll do differently? If the answer keeps coming back no, you stopped problem solving a while ago. This isn't about solving everything in 10 minutes. It's that useful thinking changes. Rumination runs the same emotional loop on repeat and calls it work. Researchers who study this split it into two kinds of inward thinking, and the names are worth knowing: brooding and reflective pondering. Brooding is passive. It compares where you are to some standard you're failing, and just sits in the gap. Why can't I handle life like everyone else? I should be further along by now. Reflective pondering is deliberate. You turn inward on purpose to actually work something out. It can be genuinely useful. But even reflection tips into rumination the moment it stops producing insight, or acceptance, or a next step, and it just keeps eating your attention. So it's not like thinking about yourself is bad. Thinking about yourself is necessary. The line is whether the thinking is still going anywhere. Now, the single most useful finding in all of this: the harm isn't in what you think about, it's in how you think about it. Take one painful thought: I handled that badly. Two people can have it and go opposite directions. One thinks concretely: I interrupted him 3 times. Next time I'll apologize and slow down. That points at a specific behavior and a specific next move. The other thinks abstractly: why do I always ruin everything? What is wrong with me? Why can't I just be normal? That points at nothing you can act on. Same event. The first person examined a behavior. The second turned one moment into a verdict on their entire self. A researcher named Edward Watkins mapped this. Abstract, evaluative thinking, the why does this happen and what does it mean about me mode, keeps you stuck and feeds self blame. Concrete, specific thinking, the what exactly happened and what's the next step mode, is what actually helps you recover and move. And this was tested, not just theorized. Pushing people into abstract thinking slowed their recovery from a setback. Training them to think concretely sped it up, and even reduced depressive symptoms. So the move isn't to stop thinking, it's to change the mode. Trade why for what and how. Trade the fog for a step you can stand on. But that raises a real question. If it isn't working, why won't your brain just drop it? And that's because of what your brain thinks it's doing. Your mind is built to notice gaps: a gap between what happened and what should have happened, between who you are and who you think you should be, between how someone treated you and how you deserve to be treated. Normally, noticing a gap is useful. It pushes you to do something to close it. That's the system working. But some gaps can't be closed. The past can't be changed. You can't read another person's mind. Some losses have no satisfying reason. And some situations never give you closure. So the file stays open. Rumination is your brain refusing to close a case that doesn't contain enough information to reach the verdict it wants. Here's the hard truth underneath the whole thing: some pain is not an information problem. Your mind is treating emotional pain like an intellectual problem. But some pain cannot be solved by finding a better explanation. It has to be felt, accepted, repaired where you can, or carried differently. Part of why this is so hard to stop is that rumination pays you a little something every time, even while it costs you. First, it gives you a feeling of control. Facing something uncertain or painful, doing something in your head feels safer than sitting in helplessness. Busy feels like progress, even when it isn't. Second, you probably believe it's helping. If I analyze this enough, I'll prevent it next time. Even if I keep going, I'll finally understand. I replay it because I care. Let's stop on that last one for a second. Caring about something and replaying it 40 times in your head are not the same thing. One is a value, the other is a habit wearing the value as a disguise. These beliefs are exactly why, quote unquote, just stop thinking about it never works. From the inside, stopping feels irresponsible, like you'd be letting something important go unhandled. And here's another part: a lot of the time, the thinking is protecting you from something worse than the thinking. Because analyzing a feeling is not the same as feeling it. You can spend 3 hours on why you're sad and never once actually let yourself be sad. Look at what the thinking lets you put off. As long as you're still analyzing, you don't have to apologize. You don't have to accept it's really over. You don't even have to risk trying again. You don't have to feel the grief. You don't have to sit in being misunderstood. You don't have to find out whether the thing you fear is actually true. The thinking keeps you at the desk, so you never reach the door. So here's the question that cuts straight through it: if I stopped trying to solve this with thinking, what feeling would I have to face? That question exposes what the loop is really doing. Sometimes it's genuinely looking for an answer, but very often it's keeping you from grief or shame or helplessness or the plain discomfort of not knowing. There's another one of these loops that is sinister and can run longer than some of the others: shame. Shame takes "I did something wrong" and rewrites it into "there is something wrong with me." It turns a specific behavior into a judgment about your whole character. And that shift is important. A behavior gives you something concrete to examine. What happened? What was your responsibility? Can you apologize, repair it, or act differently next time? There may be plenty of evidence that you're not a bad person, but shame keeps moving the goalposts. Every answer gets challenged, every good action gets dismissed, and the mind keeps searching for absolute proof about your entire character. The exit isn't to win the argument that you're a good person. It's to move the whole thing back into the category it belongs in, not a permanent verdict on you. A specific human thing you did that you can understand and, where it matters, make right. That's what self compassion actually is: not going soft on yourself, refusing to answer a behavior with a life sentence. One more reason this is sticky: rumination isn't only in your head, it runs through your body too. Every time you replay the threat, your body reacts as if it's happening again. Tension, a faster pulse, restlessness, that wired feeling that won't let you sleep. Then you feel that activation, and that becomes your proof. I still feel this worked up, so the problem must still be serious. So you think about it even more. The thought stirs up the body. The stirred up body makes the thought feel true. They keep handing each other proof, which is why insight alone often doesn't stop the loop. It's also why calming the body first helps, not to prove the thought wrong, but to turn down the urgency that's screaming, "this must be solved right now." So, what about forcing the thought out? Telling yourself, "stop thinking about it." That almost always makes it worse. Because to check whether you've stopped thinking about it, you have to think about it. Am I still thinking about it? And there it is again. Success isn't silence. You'll probably still hear the thought. Success is not sitting back down at the desk to work on it. You let it be there without picking it up again. And chasing certainty backfires the same way. Every time you answer the question or reassure yourself, you teach your brain the question was worth investigating, so it asks again, but louder. And let's make a quick distinction, because people do mix these up. Rumination and worry are close cousins. Rumination tries to solve the past. Why did that happen? What does it mean about me? Worry tries to control the future. What if this happens? How do I stop it? But underneath, they're basically the same machine. Repetitive, abstract, threat focused, and both promising a certainty your mind may simply not be able to get. Everything here works on both. So here's what to actually do. In 4 moves: recognize, regulate, decide what the thought needs, and then re engage. First, recognize. The instant you catch it, name it honestly. Say, I'm ruminating, not I'm solving this. That one label breaks the spell that it's productive. Run the test. Have I already been over this? Am I learning anything new? Is this getting more abstract and more self critical? Am I chasing a certainty that simply doesn't exist? Second, regulate. If your body is wound up, don't try to outreason it yet. You can't think clearly through that much alarm. Slow your breathing, with the exhale longer than the inhale. Go for a walk, change rooms, splash cold water on your face. Look at something far away. The goal isn't to answer the thought, it's to lower the urgency that says answer it now. Third, decide what the thought actually needs from you. There are 3 honest possibilities: solve something, feel something, or release a question that can't currently be answered. First, solve. Is there a concrete problem you can act on in the real world? Define it, choose one specific action, schedule it, and stop reopening the file until new information arrives. Second, feel. Sometimes there is nothing left to solve, but there is an emotion you have been explaining instead of allowing. Name it plainly and give it direct attention without turning it into another investigation. Third, release. Name what you cannot know or cannot change, and practice leaving the question open. There may be more to understand here, but more thinking right now is not producing any more understanding. Fourth, re engage. Rumination thrives in stillness, isolation, empty time, in a dark room, so put real life back in front of it. Do something that actually pulls your attention outward, something absorbing, and ideally connected to something you care about. Not scrolling, real contact with the world competing with the world in your head. The core skill inside all of this is converting your questions from abstract to concrete. It's small and it changes everything. And here's how it sounds. Instead of, why am I a failure? Ask, what exactly happened here? Instead of, why do I always destroy relationships? Ask, what specific thing did I do in this one interaction? Instead of, how could I have been so stupid? Ask, what information did I actually have at the time? And one more. Instead of, why can't I let this go? Ask, what do I believe letting go would mean? That question often reveals the real reason the file is still open. One quick point, because not every repetitive thought should be handled in the exact same way. In OCD, rumination can become a mental compulsion, reviewing, checking your memory, testing your feelings, or repeatedly trying to prove a fear false. Answering the question again may strengthen the question. Trauma also requires care. Processing what happened can be necessary, but involuntarily replaying fragments and attacking yourself is not that. If the loop is severe or tied to OCD, trauma, depression, or thoughts of harming yourself, it deserves professional help. So here's where this leaves you. Thinking about your problem was never the enemy. You don't have to stop caring, and you don't have to stop reflecting. The whole skill is noticing the moment the thinking stopped going anywhere, the moment it changed from working on the problem to just keeping the problem warm. And when you catch it, you have 2 options. Change how you're thinking from why to what, from fog to a step, or set the file down and go live your actual life. Because some questions never do get answered. The past won't explain itself. Some people never give you closure. And some losses never really make sense. Those questions don't get solved, they get carried. And the strange thing is, once you stop demanding an answer they were never going to give, they get so much lighter to hold. You can hold an unfinished question and still have your whole life back. So the next time you catch yourself circling at 2 a.m., ask the only thing that helps: is this going anywhere? And if it isn't, let it be unfinished and go.